Good afternoon, class. We're going to pick up with Module 9, and we're going to go over a brief review of the course for the week, and then we're going to go over the assignment to see if everybody understands how to do it. This is certainly a lot easier than last week's assignment, and if people are having trouble, I can do a team meeting going over the answers because it was fairly complicated. Let me share my screen. There we are. And this section was on table creation and management. So it teaches you, we spent a lot of time going over displaying data with the select command. So we have two parts. You have data manipulation and table creation commands. And so this is a switch from the data manipulation, as we've done with the joins and the other things that we've been doing, to now going to the basics of defining your databases and tables. So the objectives for the chapter were very simple: to create a new table. We used a script before to create all the data files, all the tables that we've been employing for our learning so far, Learn SQL. But now that we're going to create a table and be able to name new columns, we can add columns or delete columns or add new tables. And we can use subqueries to take data from existing tables and create new tables with new columns and new rows from what we retrieved using subqueries. That's a very powerful capability. And we have the ability to add columns to existing tables if we need to add a column that, like in the past when we were looking at money for the books business, we had the amount, the wholesale amount that we paid for it, and we had the retail amount that we charged the customer for, but we didn't have a column for profit. So that's something that we could add as a profit column, and it just was a simple arithmetic of subtracting the cost to us, the wholesale cost, from the price that the customer paid. We can even modify the size of a column, but under some constraints. You can only do that if you have if you don't have any existing data that exceeds the amount that you want to specify as the new column length. Some other things we want to learn to do is how to drop a column, mark a column as unused, rename a table, truncate a table, or drop a table. All very simple commands. All we have to do is learn the syntax. So what is a database table? It's a database object. It stores data for the database. It's in two parts. It's 2 dimensions. It has columns and rows. It's created and modified through the data definition language rather than the data manipulation language, which we've been using so far. Table names, we have constraints that they cannot be more than 30 characters. There cannot be any spaces in a name. They must begin with a letter, but they can contain numbers and some special characters, such as underscore and pound sign. And names must, for a table, the name must be unique. Now, the names for the columns do not necessarily have to be unique. They have to be unique within a table. But if you have multiple tables open, you can have the same column name in different tables. We'll be able to differentiate between them by adding the table name followed by a punctuation point and then the name of the column that you want to look at. What are the most common data types that when we create a table? Most common thing is variable character. And the character, the entries in the row, in the column in that row, can have a maximum character length of 40,000 characters. I don't think we'll run into that problem. Then we have character with a specific fixed length. So things like state are usually a 2-character, so it'd be char of 2, but you can go up to 2,000. If something's a number, and you can also, if you want to, specify the precision and after the decimal place. So we have the precision and then the number of decimal places. A date, SQL is very specific about the format of a date, as we've found in the past. We have a broad range of dates that we're allowed to use, but when you specify date, it has to be the 7 bytes, having the year, and you can include the century or not. Then you have the month and then the date. You can also include in dates hours, minutes, and seconds. We have some other data types available. But we're going to look first, and we'll be doing this in the homework example, create a table. And there's some optional schemas about who owns the table, and the definition of all of the columns that are going to comprise this table must be enclosed in parentheses. And for every column, you have to specify what data type it is. SQL has a limit of 1,000 different columns for a table. So here's a simple example. Create a table called Account Manager. And the first column will be AMID, Account Manager ID, which is a variable character of 2 of 4 up to 4 places. The account manager name is a variable character up to 20 characters. Birth date is a date, and we're going to have a default for that. So if we don't specify what the date is, it will use the system date, today's date, as the default. And we have a region, which is a 2-character thing, which we're going to use for like northeast, southwest, whatever. So that's the syntax for a create table, and we see from actually executing it that it functioned fine. Create table succeeded. And that's going to be one of the kinds of things in our assignment that we're going to go over. When we go to describe the account manager table, it's going to tell us what all of the columns are and the data type. And we also have in our database, we can look at the tables that comprise our database. We can click on the books and see what all the different columns are and their data types and constraints. We can also create a table through subqueries. We can use a subquery to retrieve data from existing tables to create a new version of that data that we might want to use for either reports or calculations. And this requires the use of the as keyword as we're creating the new table. We can assign new column names if we want to. So we want to create a table and give it a name as, and then enumerate all the column names. And when we say as a subquery, then we can specify where they're going to get the data from. So here's an example, create table totals. It has name, order number, order total. It has, we're going to select the first name, concatenate with a space, concatenate with the last name, the order number, order total, from customers that we were joining with orders using the customer number, using a natural join. And we're going to select the sum of the paid, how much we paid for each times the number that we ordered as the order total from the order items. And we have to group it by order number in order to be sure that we, as we're manipulating the data, it has to be in that order to be able to bring together all the orders that have all the books that were ordered by one order in the orders table. So when we look at this new table, this totals table, it's going to have the name of the customer, the order number, and then the total cost for that order, which is the sum of all the books times the number of books ordered in that order. So we'll go on now to see how we modify existing tables using the alter table command, and we use this fairly frequently. We can use an add clause to add a column. We can modify a clause to modify a column, or we can drop a column. Be very careful, though. There is no undo command. And so the alter table syntax is very straightforward. Alter table, give the table name. Then you can either add, modify, or drop a column and list the column name. And then you can use one of the either add, modify, or drop, and then the definition needed to add or modify. So an example here is this alter table account manager, add extension number, and it's 4 characters. So this is somebody's telephone extension at an office. So we're adding the extension. So now we've had the table account manager that used to not have an extension now has an extension. And it said, when we executed it, it said it succeeded. We want to modify the account manager name to change it to 24 characters. And that succeeded. So the modified guidelines the column must be at least as wide as the data it already contains. You can't concatenate, you can't shorten a column down to less characters than any existing record has an entry with that many characters. And if you have a number column that already contains data, the size cannot be decreased. It has to be able to handle all the existing data. And when you add or change default data, it does not affect the existing data. All right, so let's describe our totals table. It has name, order number, and order total. That's the way we created it. Cannot change text column to make it too small. We just went over that. We cannot change a numeric column if it contains data. So here's an error. We tried to make the number a 4,2, and it says we can't do that because we have data already and you can't change it. Let's look at the alter table to drop. If we want to drop a column, you can only drop one column at a time, and the deletion is permanent. And if you deleted so many columns that it's down to one column, you can't delete the last column. So here's a simple example of a drop column command. If you set a table to be unused, what does that mean? That means the next time you open up that table, it will delete it. It will eliminate it. So that's for later deletion. It doesn't do it immediately. It just does the next time you open up the file. Once you mark a column cannot be restored. So the column is treated as if it's deleted. Remember that. The alter table syntax is when we alter a table, here's the command. We can set a column to be unused. There's 2 different syntaxes for this, which end up doing this exact same thing, and that's very confusing because those 2 statements there, alter table name set unused, and a column name, or alter table name set unused column name, does exactly the same thing. This is just historical, that there were 2 systems that were merged. One used one syntax, one used the other, rather than having only one of the vendor's systems take precedence over the others. And there was a lot of existing software. They said, well, we'll just let either one do the job. So you have a choice. And alter table drop unused command. This deletes columns previously marked as unused. So if you alter the table to drop unused, this will actually execute dropping those things. So here's our order, the totals table that we created earlier. We set the column unused. Then when we select star from the totals, that column's now gone. And If you want to alter table totals and drop unused columns, it succeeded and now it's gone. Rename is a very simple syntax. You rename a table from its old name to specify to its new name. And after that, it's done. If you look at this example here, if you try to select star from the old table name, you can get nothing back because you've deleted that. But when you do it from the new table name, you get all the data back. Truncating a table deletes rows, but the columns remain. So when you truncate the command, you eliminate all the data that's existing, so there's no rows, but you have not deleted your structure, so that if you want to restart and you want to re-enter data, like if you have a program that's running data for school children at the end of the year, you want to truncate it and start all the students over for the next year, but it has the same data structure, so you want to retain the column integrity, but so you have the variable names, but you don't have any data. And the drop the whole table command is very straightforward. You drop table, give it the name, and it's done. It's gone. You can once you've dropped a table, it gets put into the recycle bin, and there's a way to get it back again. And you just have to learn the syntax of that. It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of weird looking. Here it is right here, but it's a little weird, but it works. You just have to learn how to do it. So what have we done? We've learned how to create a new table with the create table command. We've learned how to name a new column or a new table. We've learned how to use a subquery to populate rows in a table. We've learned how to add a new column to an existing table. We've learned how to modify columns in existing table, either text or numeric. We've learned how to drop a column from an existing table, mark a column as unused, and then delete it later. We've learned how to rename a table, truncate a table, drop a table. These are all very simple commands. You just have to learn the syntax, how to do them. And that's it. So let's go through our actual assignment so everybody understands what we're supposed to do. What does it say? We're supposed to create a new table. And I'm going to get rid of PowerPoint and go to where I'm just talking to you. So I'm going to stop this and then stop this recording, and I'm going to start another recording. So you're going to have to restart. So